Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So all of you have already heard the news of Washington retiring the late, great Sean Taylor's number 21 this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. It is a great honor that is long overdue, and we're all excited about the actual act of them doing something that should have long been done. The fact that Landon Collins wanted the number and it was actually being entertained at one point is a travesty. And I'm so excited that that's going to be put to rest, and that will never be another conversation as long as I live as a Washington football team fan. That said, how it's being done is the lowest of the low. And I've already covered this in a video, so I'm not going to really spend too much time because I've already stated how I feel, why I think they're doing it. I've heard a lot of different things as to why people feel like it's being done. I want to read a couple of comments. I want to read a couple of comments that I saw on socials as the day progressed. People just venting and, talking about their frustration with the decision that Washington has made. I already stated my piece on Jason Wright and his role in this. If he had anything to do with this, shame on him. We expect this kind of low rent behavior from Daniel Snyder. This is who he's been. This is who he is. And this is who he's always going to be. So we're not surprised by his actions, but we thought there were adults in the room that would stop these types of things from happening. And that's where I look at Jason Wright and I say, how could you let this happen? You're a smart guy. We know you know better. And he's already apologized. And at this point, I really don't know if I really care to hear his apology or what the thought process was. I know he tweeted out and said that, they really want to expedite the process of getting some of these numbers retired that needed to be retired, like Bobby Mitchell and Sean Taylor. That's great. But you told us in June that Bobby Mitchell, the number was going to be retired in September, which they did that week 2 against the Giants. You told us that back in June. So why didn't you tell us then when you told us about Bobby Mitchell's number? Why didn't you tell us about Sean Taylor's number? Again, I'm not trying to hear what you're trying to sell us because, again, we had this whole discussion. I don't even know if it was a week ago when I said, we're not stupid. We're not dummies. We don't have dumb written on our forehead. Okay, this is not 1985. You can't lie to us. All the facts are at our fingertips. And that's the shit that really frustrates me as a fan, is that you can't lie to us and then look us in our eyes and say, you believe me, right? No, we don't believe you. We don't believe you. You need more people. Okay? No, we don't believe you. Because all of the evidence suggests otherwise. If you were going to do it for Bobby Mitchell and Sean Taylor, and you told us about Bobby Mitchell, why didn't you tell us about Sean Taylor? Doesn't make any sense. And, people have been talking about all of the negative publicity and pub that's been coming out about this team recently, and that's why they want. I don't think that's what it is at all. Because we've had way worse come out. It's a shame that I can say this with a straight face and mean it and not feel any type of way, but we've had way worse come out about us than the team paying off people to keep their mouths shut about the culture. We've had way worse come out. If that's the best you got, Washington Post, sorry, not interested. You're going to have to come with some more heat. But that's how far gone we are. That we overlook shit that should be big deals because this is just who we are now. We're the villains and we play the role well. And okay, whatever. Our organization isn't shit and we know it as fans. We want change. We know it's not coming because the guy that owns the team is the problem and he's not going anywhere. So what are we going to do? Continue to cry over spilt milk? No, at least I'm not going to. But they keep telling us that they're trying to win fans back. They're trying to change. They're trying to get us back on board. Well, it's days like this that drive a further wedge in between the fan base and the organization, because my man King of the North said this. I want to say it was last week. It might have been earlier this week. And I read his comment on the air, and he said, you know what? When trust has been broken, you have to show me action. You can no longer tell me you're going to do something. You have to show me action. I need tangible proof because trust has been broken. Trust was long severed with this organization, between the fan base and the organization, because of Daniel Snyder. The trust has long been severed. But, you know, as the temperature of the water starts to warm up a bit and we stick a toe in and we feel like the temperature feels nice and you start to stick your whole foot in there, still don't want to put your whole leg in because you know it's dangerous. You've done it before. But as you start to get comfortable and your calf starts to get into the water and now you're getting close to knee deep, all of a sudden something like this shit happens and you pull your entire foot back out of the water and you're like, see, this is why I didn't want to get in. You bastards always do this shit to us. This is a new low for this organization, okay? It's a new low. Because Sean Taylor doesn't just, he's not just 21 to this fan base. I went on a rant on Wednesday night talking about the difference between other organizations, the Jets and the Dolphins and the Lions and the Bengals and all these other teams. And I said, we haven't had a guy here in Washington since probably Darryl Green. Trent Williams was the next closest thing. And I already said, if he plays 7 years with the 49ers, he's going into the Hall of Fame as a 49er. He wants nothing to do with us here in Washington. And I don't blame him. The guy that was going to change the game and be our guy and go into the Hall of Fame, that one guy that we had, and again, Trent Williams was another one, but that one guy that we would have had was Sean Taylor. He isn't just a guy in this organization. And 21 isn't just a number in this organization. He is a mythical figure in this organization. He's not just a lot of fans' favorite player. He is the favorite player of this new generation. He is the guy. Look around the league. I doubt you can go into any of the 32 locker rooms around this league and not have at least one player that has been impacted by the career of Sean Taylor, that didn't grow up idolizing Sean Taylor. He was a movement. He was different. He was special. And it was taken away from us. We felt robbed because I've already told you guys how it is to not have. And we've been starved as a fan base for a very long time. And we haven't had. So when you don't have anything, the little that you do have, you clutch it and you hold on to it very tightly. And Sean was one of the few that we had. And when he was taken from us, we still wouldn't let him go. And we never will let his memory die. And so now, when we hear that his number is being retired, you would think it would be this joyous and momentous occasion, one that people would plan weekends around and want to be around one another. And we would fill the stadium with a bunch of burgundy and gold. And that would be the one game that this team would be able to count on to know that the fans would show up in droves. And we couldn't even get that shit right. They effed that up too. I'm going to read you a couple of tweets. This shit is ridiculous. It's despicable. And I'm so disappointed in the organization. I've been disappointed before, but this is ridiculous. So I'm going to read a couple of tweets from people. This guy isn't even a Washington fan. He's a Chargers fan. But listen to what he said. He said, the fact that they're clearly using this as a stunt to overshadow recent events is disgusting, in all caps. Sean Taylor was/is one of my favorite collegiate and NFL players of all time. He's not a Washington fan. Listen to what I'm saying to you. He's not even a Washington fan. He's a Miami Hurricanes fan. He says, he was one of the reasons why I'm a Canes football diehard. All right. This is from Al Galdi. At Al Galdi, he says, you're dead last in NFL attendance. You're starving for good pub. You have a beloved franchise great whose jersey is maybe the single most popular one that you have and being retired. And you give fans just 3 days of notice. Incredible. Burgundy Blog, who a lot of you follow, so do I. I don't always agree with him. As a matter of fact, I probably disagree with him 75% of the time. but I respect his opinion. He writes here, he wasn't just a good player and isn't just a jersey. It's a memorial. If you can't do it intelligently and respectfully, don't do it at all. I couldn't have agreed more with that sentiment. Couldn't have agreed more with it. Tim Nicely, okay, at Tim Nicely 91 writes, I'm very upset about it. My son, his name is literally Sean Taylor Nicely. He named his kid after Sean Taylor. He says, I don't live near Landover, so I can't usually make games. I can only make one a year. I had no idea this was happening, so I went to the game last week. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, everybody doesn't live right up the street, so you can't give us 3 days notice. There are people that live in California that would have loved to have come to this game. All they needed was time. It's amazing. There are more of these, plenty of these. I could keep going. The fact of the matter is, they dropped the ball. They didn't just drop it, they fumbled the ball. They didn't just fumble it, they lost the ball. They can't find it, and I don't know if they'll ever be able to recover it. This organization is sickening. Sickening. And what we put up with as fans is ridiculous. And you know, if I didn't love it so much, if this wasn't my livelihood, if I didn't care as much as I did, I'd drop them like a bad habit. Sometimes I wish I had that ability to do that. I don't. It's not in my DNA. I can't just quit something like this. I'm not physically capable of doing it, nor mentally capable of doing it. There's an attachment there that sometimes I wish wasn't there, but it is. But it's days like this when I wish I could just say, deuces, I'm out. You guys suck. Find somebody else to kick around. I'm sick of being beaten up and kicked around and treated as if I don't matter. And that's what we've been treated for the last 20 years under the reign of terror that is known as Daniel Snyder. We've been treated like peons. Like this product that they're shoving down our throats, it's the best thing. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's the worst product in football, and you could argue the worst product in sports. And yet we continue to consume it. And somewhere deep down inside, Daniel Snyder knows that, and that's why he continues to treat us like shit. And now, it's not like it was back in the late 80s, early 90s, where you could make change if you didn't go to games. You could show your disgust and disdain by just not going to games. Well, we've done that as a fan base. We don't go to games. We're the lowest attendance in the league. Half of the attendance on a weekly basis is from the opposition. We've made that statement abundantly clear. The stadium is trash, the team is horrible, and the organization is the worst. But guess what? It doesn't matter what we do. Daniel Snyder's still going to get his. He's one of 32. In an agreement with TV money that's going to keep his pockets fat. So guess what? We can F off his fans. He doesn't give a shit about us. And he's proven that time and time again. And this is the latest in a long list of times where he's just sat and shat on us. Taking a big deuce on us. I'm done with this shit. Sean Taylor deserves better. I said that earlier. We continue to let Dan Snyder shit on us, and as many fans as can get into the stands will show up on Sunday and they'll support. You know what was crazy? We truly do suffer from Stockholm syndrome in this fan base. I'm reading a comment from Jason Wright, who and I'm gonna read you his tweet. And I honestly, I didn't want to hear this shit. I really didn't care to hear what the hell he had to say because, frankly, I was appalled that he would allow something like this to happen. Again, unless he tried to talk Dan out of this, and Dan said we're doing it anyway. Jason Wright tweeted out, "We wanted to do something long overdue by retiring players' numbers. Months ago, we planned for Bobby Mitchell and Sean Taylor to be the first two." Again, if you planned for both of these guys to have their numbers retired, why didn't we know about both of these guys? We knew about Bobby Mitchell. We didn't know about Sean Taylor. He says, "Seeing the reaction, I'm very sorry that the short notice does not properly reflect the impact Sean had. President's brief to come." I don't really care to hear the president's brief. I really don't. Like, you couldn't, you had to literally be in some sort of insulated bubble to not know the impact. As soon as you got here, you had to know. If you've driven to Washington, you drive down Sean Taylor Drive. You have to know how important he is to this fan base. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me you're going to do better. Just do better. Sean deserves better. And I'm happy that his number is going in its rightful place in history in this organization, but it shouldn't be going like this. But once again, this organization finds a way to screw things up. And you know what? I'm not surprised. And neither should you. Neither should you. In other news, we got a game this Sunday, in case you guys forgot. I mean, I know a lot of this stuff has kind of overshadowed the fact that there is a game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do fully expect us to get the doors blown off of us. Now, maybe because we're retiring Sean's number, maybe there's a little bit of good juju that's in the air. And Sean will be looking over, and maybe we'll be able to somehow make this thing competitive. I'm not saying win. That would be crazy talk. But make it competitive and have a shot. But we'll see. There is a football game, though. And the coordinators did step up to the mic, and they had some interesting things to say. We'll discuss that here in a second. Also, the injury report for Thursday is available. We're going to take a look at that right now as we speak and see what happens. So we have a new entry into the injury report. If you notice that Sammy Reyes is now on this injury report as well. His back must have flared up. Maybe he had a spill at practice on Wednesday and didn't feel good on Thursday, or maybe it was sore and he tried to gut through it on Wednesday and he couldn't do it on Thursday. Either way, we're already thin at tight end, but they did sign a tight end already. So if he can't go, next man up. And we will probably get our first look at the tight end we just signed that was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. And I think we got him off of the Seattle Seahawks practice squad. So we'll see. If Sammy's can battle through, then he'll end up being available on Sunday. But if not, Jay Sternberger will get the nod. Anyway, yesterday we broke it into halves. So we're going to do the same thing today. The bottom five: Cam Sims, Jonathan Allen, De'Ami Brown, Cole Holcomb, James Smith-Williams. I told you I think all of those guys are going to play except for Cam Sims. I'm still holding out hope for Sims, but after today's DMP, Sims is not playing again this week. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Cam Sims is going to be out this week as well, and maybe next week he'll be available for the team. Jonathan Allen, De'Ami Brown, Cole Holcomb, James Smith-Williams, all limited participants just like they were yesterday. Those guys are going to play. De'Ami was the one that I was really paying attention to because I wanted to see how he bounced back from practicing on a limited basis yesterday. The fact that he was able to go again today says a lot, and it lets me know that he'll be available more likely than not on Sunday. So feel good about Jonathan Allen, De'Ami Brown, Cole Holcomb, James Smith-Williams all playing in the game. Now you go to the top half, and I told you this is where we're going to find a lot of these guys not playing in the upcoming game. Sam Cosmi, Antonio Gibson, Jared Norris, Curtis Samuel, and Brandon Scherf. Now, Samuel Cosmi is going to be out with the ankle injury. I feel pretty confident saying that. Told you guys yesterday that I didn't think he was going to play this week. Ankles are tricky, but I don't think he's going to play this week. Jared Norris, shoulder injury. Didn't practice again today. I don't know how severe the injury is, but the fact that he's missing practice again for a second consecutive day does concern me. He's looking like he may not be able to go. Curtis Samuel with the groin, I don't expect him to practice at all this week. I don't know if he practiced at all last week, but he still was able to go. I think he practiced limited basis on Friday. So maybe we'll see that again. They'll give him a run on Friday, see how he feels, and if he feels good, they'll do what they did last week and have him be active and try to see if he can go and see if it stays loose and doesn't tighten up on him. Brandon Sheriff with the knee, not playing again this week. I told you guys I was expecting him to be out at least 2 weeks with the MCL. I said they probably should have just put him on IR, but they probably think he may be able to come back next week. If they put him on IR, he wouldn't have been able to play next week either. He wouldn't have been able to come back until the Denver Broncos game. So I think they were feeling like more likely than not the best thing to do was just to wait and see. So I don't anticipate Sheriff and Cosme to play. Norris and Samuel are interesting guys to keep an eye on. And Gibson, I told you, he's going to be on the injury report until the bye week. And then maybe he'll come back off the bye and feel good and not be on it temporarily. But he'll be on it every week with either the shoulder or the shin. But he's going to play. He's played the last 2 weeks with the shin. He's going to play this week. He was limited today. Feel good about him playing on Sunday as well. Now you go to the Chiefs. They're interesting because they got some big names on this injury report. I still am very skeptical as to whether these guys are going to miss the game or not. Joe Thuney, their starting guard, left guard, has a hand injury. He hasn't practiced this week. I still think he's going to play personally. We'll see. Chris Jones is the one that I'm really hopeful about because he didn't play last week with the wrist injury. He hasn't practiced this week. He may be out. And if he doesn't play, that's the one guy that I'm concerned about on their defense. He's the one guy that can wreck the game plan. Everybody else, they're just guys. They're Jags on that side of the ball for the Chiefs. So if he doesn't play, that is a huge boost for us. That's one to keep an eye on. Tyreek Hill, also interesting with the quad, although I think they're just figuring, look, he's Tyreek Hill. He's got a quad. He knows the playbook. He knows the system, the scheme. As long as he's up to speed on what the game plan is, he doesn't need to practice. I just don't think he's going to miss the game. I just think they're being precautious with him, and they should be. You know, he's the guy that stretches the defense and is a big play threat. And coming up against a Washington defense that's giving it up deep every single week, Hill is a guy that needs to be healthy. So I think he's going to play. We'll see. Those are big names. Jaron Reed, I told you yesterday, was a non-injury related miss from practice. He was back today. He's not really on the injury report. And Anthony Hitchens with a knee was limited today. So more likely than not, he will play. You see the two at the bottom. They were full participants yesterday, Chris Lamons and Lucas Niang. Those two were full again today. They're not on the injury report. Those guys are going to play. So really for me, Travarius Ward and Blake Bell didn't practice again today either. Travarius Ward is a big part of their secondary at the cornerback position, but Blake Bell is their third string tight end. I mean, if he plays, cool. If he doesn't, whatever. It's not going to make that big of a deal. But Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Joe Thuney are some big names, heavy hitters for them, especially Chris Jones and Tyreek Hill. I think Thuney and Hill are definitely playing in my mind until otherwise notified. Jones is the guy that I'm intrigued by because he didn't play last week. If we could get a break and him not play this week, that's a win for us as far as I'm concerned. So that tomorrow, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, they may declare him out and he might not make the trip. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, I'm feeling really good. Really good. If Tyreek Hill doesn't practice tomorrow, I'm feeling really good. But right now, I assume that Hill will be limited tomorrow. You know, Thuney will be limited tomorrow. And even if they don't practice, their game status will probably be like questionable or probable. You know, I doubt it'll be doubtful. You know, those guys are going to play. Jones is the one that I think we got a chance to have him miss the game, but we will see. So we had the coordinator step up to the podium today and heard from Scott Turner first. And I really like Scott Turner. I do. I think he's a smart guy. I think he gets it. And you know, they asked him a different line of questions. You know, they asked him about the culture and, you know, how does he do his job when he's immersed in all of this garbage? And he's like, look, I just do my job. You know, I just focus on what I can control and try to get the guys to understand that we have a task at hand and we just got to take care of business. So, you know, he said, you know, you hear the stuff, you know, you see it, you know, but there's nothing you can do about it. So you just try to do your job the best of your capabilities and keep it pushing. But he talked about the game and, you know, some missed opportunities. I could tell he really, similar to last year when the quarterback position was trash and he was getting blamed for stuff, you know, I thought that somebody was out of pocket, you know, talking about the red zone offense. You know, they referenced the offense is struggling on the season. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Our red zone offense was spectacular going into last week's game. We were awful against the Saints. Now, if you want to say, hey, the red zone offense had been really good up until Sunday, what happened? That's the way you should have phrased the question, not, hey, the red zone offense is struggling this season. What do you attribute to that? No, you're wrong. The red zone offense had been great up until Sunday, but that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is you could tell he was like, actually, I called some really good shit in the red zone, and we just didn't execute. And you can't throw anybody under the bus. He said, yeah, I can do a better job of play calling. We can do a better job of executing. That's how you're supposed to do it. But really, when you go back and watch, he drew up some shit, man. I went back and watched, and it made me mad all over again because we should have won the game. I'm just going to say that. Taylor Heinicke was awful. When you go back and watch, he was even worse. Scott Turner drew up some crack, man. In the red zone, man. He cooked up some crack. Guys were open. I mean, if I could get this film out to you guys, and I'm going to get the film out to you, whether they give me the all 22s or not, for those of you who are eligible, I'm going to give you some stuff so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. And it may not be the whole game, but it'll be some specific place so you see exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Taylor Heinicke was awful. And I'm doubling down on what I said. And, I got into it with somebody. And, it was a heated discussion. It wasn't anything derogatory. He felt like the defense was the number one reason we lost the game. I felt like Taylor Heinicke was the number one reason we lost the game. And, I started to waffle as the days went on and I hadn't watched the game a second time. I was like, maybe he was right. Maybe the defense could have done more. But no. I'm doubling down on what I said initially. Taylor Heinicke was the number one reason we lost the game. Yeah, the defense wasn't great, and they have a large part of the blame. It's enough blame to go around, trust me. But Heinicke, without a doubt, in my mind, was the number one reason we lost this football game. And I thought Scott Turner did a fantastic job of play calling, even in the red zone where I thought he, struggled. No, he didn't struggle. No, Taylor Heinicke struggled. And one of my biggest problems with Heinicke in the game, and I'll just say this and then we'll move on, is that for some odd reason, he was fixated on Ricky Seals-Jones. Like, I don't know why. And I think I have an idea, and I think I said this on Studs and Duds. But yeah, I think because they had second team reps together and he's comfortable with Ricky Seals-Jones and there's a rapport there. F that. You got guys wide ass open and you want to force it to Ricky Seals-Jones in double coverage in the end zone? Where they do that at? Like, he was tripping. Anyway, Scott Turner, he gets it, man. I like Scott Turner a lot. I thought he did a hell of a job play calling against the Saints. We moved the football in that game. We just did not cash in the red zone, and a lot of that I put straight in the lap of Taylor Heinicke. Jack Del Rio, you talked about the criticism of the defense, and somebody brought to his attention that Alex Smith had said that this defense was predictable. And Jack was like, well, I disagree with that. Anybody can say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're predictable defensively. And you know what? I gathered from Jack, because I started to insinuate maybe Jack is getting a little up there in age and the game is passing Jack by. He's not adjusting and this defense isn't, up with the times, so to speak. I don't feel that way. And listening to Jack talking and watching the game, and I know better, because I've been defending Jack a lot, and for good reason, Jack gets it. Jack, he had a little sense of humor today. He talked about, when he was playing in the game, teams would get a little frisky and actually, put a receiver in the slot. Ooh. He said, but for the most part, teams lined up, with two running backs and a tight end and a flanker. And he's like, yeah, and every now and again they get real frisky and put a receiver in the slot. Oh. But he said, now the game has changed. It's a much different game. And he recognizes that, and I think he has adjusted and adapted, and he's given us a chance. Our secondary, man, oh man, are they bad. They just don't get it. But I thought the pass rush was exceptional this past weekend, and it gave us a chance. It really did. So I'm encouraged by some of the things I saw defensively. I really am. And, Ron kept talking about two plays. Seriously, if you take those two plays away, we win the game. But you can't. And my thing wasn't that those two plays weren't impactful because we all acknowledge that they were. One is a Hail Mary. The other is a 72-yard bomb on 3rd and 7. Of course they're impactful plays. But these are plays that we're giving up. Not the Hail Mary necessarily, but the 72-yarder, these are plays we're giving up every week. That was my argument. Like, until we stop doing that, I don't want to hear about it's a play here, it's a play there. We're doing that shit every week. Stop doing that is the point that I'm trying to make. But anyway, I thought Jack had some good things to say. I know you guys don't care, and nor should you. At this point, I've already said we don't care about talking anymore. I still want to listen. I still want to hear what they have to say. And I thought the best thing Jack said is that he's like, look, I'm past the point of explaining to you guys because there's not one thing that I can say to you to make you go, oh, aha, I get it now. That's why the defense. Like, he said, I know I sound the same and I'm saying the same things, but that's because I believe in what we're doing. I believe that these guys are sticking with one another. They're sticking to, the brotherhood that they have in the locker room, and they're staying the course, and we're getting better, and they're taking steps in the right direction, and there's not much more for me to say. And he's right. There's nothing else you can say. The only thing that will speak louder than your words is the action on the field. And it was better, but it wasn't good enough because they still scored 33 points and we lost. And when we needed stops late in the game, we didn't get them. So while it was better, and I contend it was the best defensive performance of the season, it wasn't good enough. So Jack's like, I don't know what else you want me to say. There's nothing else for me to say. You're not going to have an aha moment about this defense. We got to show you. Facts. All facts. So let's get to our first look at the Kansas City Chiefs in week number 6. Both teams won their respective divisions last year. Both teams come into the game at 2-3. This is a big game for both teams. The Chiefs, we know what it is. They're struggling this year on the defensive side of the football, but what's been a little bit more auspicious with them is the fact that their offense isn't as dynamic as it's been in the past. They got an injury to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was just put on IR. Excuse me. So they're going to be missing him in this game. That's another big piece of their offense missing. However, they're still fully capable of putting up a 40-burger. I just watched them do it 2 weeks ago against the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? Like, the statement that the Kansas City Chiefs are struggling and their demise is imminent is grossly exaggerated, okay? They've played a brutal schedule and they've lost in some excruciating ways. They lost to a 4-1 team, another 4-1 team, and another 4-1 team, okay? All division leaders, by the way, in the Chargers, Bills, and Ravens, okay? It's not like they're losing to the New Orleans Saints with half of their squad on IR or injured or on the PUP list, okay? It's not like they're losing to the Little Sisters of the Poor. Now, not to say that we haven't lost. We lost to those same teams minus the Ravens. Lost to the Bills. We lost to the Chargers just like they did. But they would have beaten the Saints. In the state that the Saints were in, they would have beaten the Saints. We didn't beat the Saints. So, if they would have played the same schedule that we've played to this point, they'd probably be 3-2, not 2-3. Worst case scenario, maybe they're 4-1. Maybe they're 5-0. Who knows? In any event, Mahomes has turned it over more this season than he has in any other season. He's already equaled his greatest interception total from any of his seasons as a starter. He's thrown 6 this season. That's the most he's ever thrown in a single season, and he's already reached that point 5 weeks in. So he's struggling a little bit. The offensive line is all brand spanking new, so they're still trying to grow. And I just told you Joe Thuney has a hand injury. He may not play. We'll see. They're missing their running back now in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They haven't found a way to replace Sammy Watkins yet. Mecole Hardman has not stepped up to the plate and taken on that challenge to be that third option. But Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are still playing at an extremely high level and probably still among the best at their respective positions. Mahomes, while he may be struggling, is still Patrick effing Mahomes. And unfortunately, I think we're going to find that out on Sunday. Now, defensively, the Chiefs stink. They're just like us. They're garbage. They can't stop anybody. They're giving up 30 just about every damn week. So we will have opportunities to take advantage of them. Unlike our defense, however, their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, doesn't give a shit. He gives no Fs. He's YOLO. He's blitzing. Hey, look, you only live once, right? So he's sending 7. He doesn't care. And if Taylor Heineke can't perform under pressure, he will collapse under the pressure because he's going to see it on Sunday because Steve Spagnuolo doesn't play. Spagnuolo is YOLO when it comes to blitzing. Even though they stink, he will throw the kitchen sink and won't think twice about it. So there's a lot there to digest. Hopefully we get the Taylor Heineke that we get every other week. And that seems to be the trend right now. You know, good Taylor, then bad Taylor, then good Taylor, got bad Taylor last week. So we're due for good Taylor to show up. This be the great week to show up because we're going to need about 38. And that might not be enough, depending on how the defense, but that might not be enough, but we're probably going to need about 38. So we'll break it down tomorrow. I'll give you my keys to the game and talk about how we can find a way to get it done on Sean Taylor Jersey Day. But don't get me started on that again. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I thank you guys for joining me out there. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington football team. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Friday as we give our predictions for the upcoming game. Leave your comments down in the comment section along with a like and a sub if you haven't already done so. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the thing. I know a lot of you have a lot to say about the happenings of today and this upcoming game. I'd love to hear from you. Leave it down in the comment section. With that said, I'm going to glide to the side and allow you guys to enjoy Thursday Night Football and the rest of your evening. If you want to join me for Thursday Night Football overtime, feel free. You know where to find me. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow for Washington Football Nightly. Until then, you guys take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.